Yeah.
Because I think people were super, super bummed when they were like, what the hell happened to Pence a couple years ago? And then you've obviously been here and you've done 15 other things, but you've been writing for a few different places, and that's great. So I think for us, we're lucky to have people that want to stick around and stay passionate about Sounders and sports in this town, or sports in the world, frankly, but from a Seattle perspective. I think that's great. And I think having something like this feel like it's nascent is awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting to feel a part of that.
Right.
It's been cool. And not even just me. I mean, Don Ruiz, longtime writer for the TNT, who was sort of took an early retirement, but they were just cutting back their Sounders coverage. It's a phenomenon that Sounders fans know very well. And so I would hope that some people out there would be willing to fund some of that, just because
$3.99.
seeing the cost of
Get Matt from working in a restaurant.
Not that I complain. I enjoy it there, but it's just it's time that I could. It's a Ryan House up on 12th.
Oh yeah,
another direct competitor of the Berliner.
I would actually say that all of the people here have probably been there at least one time, except Adam. Have you been to the one in Tacoma?
I haven't.
I have.
Well,
not.
I have been inside it.
I've stayed loyal to the Berliner. I've not been there.
You didn't cheat on the Berliner with Rhinehouse?
But I have been to their sister restaurant, Beer Star in White Center.
Okay, nice.
So I think we got about a half hour more of your time. So let's come back to the game and maybe talk a little bit about this game following up on a really rough ending to LAFC the week prior. So I know the fam here had talked about this on last week's show. But that's a hard way to leave LA and then to come home and really just not drop anything on the scoreboard except cross after cross after cross. It's got to be hurting. And you saw the Will Bruin comments, which I think, Adam, you have if you can throw them up. They were really good.
Yeah.
And I think we all knew that guy would be legit one way or the other. Whether it was just his emotional support or his attitude or something.
He's a vet. He knows.
But man, aside from him scoring goals, he gives a shit, and that's really, really cool. Because not everybody does, and not to say they all have to care all the time about everything, but he's no, I'm pretty pissed off about this, and it's not just for your benefit. He's for me. This means something to me, and that's cool from a guy who was in a place for a number of years and had a following and doesn't need to have gone from the orange team, to the green team and really buy in. But dude is bought in, and it's super interesting. And I think emotionally, what we're all feeling. I don't know if it's good or bad when you see that the players are feeling it. You want them to, but then you see it and you're like, shit, did I make them feel bad? Should we not have booed? What happened?
Into that Brad Evans role?
I mean, that's a good example, actually. Maybe?
That's how I saw that comment.
What's your...
Yeah, I mean, they do need strong voices in the locker room right now. I mean, because it's kind of... I mean, Dempsey has done a lot of good things for the club, but he's never really been that guy. That's not a role that he is really anxious to take up, but they have lost a lot of really strong voices.
Right.
Brad being gone, Zach Scott retiring, even a Nelson Valdez who was really good about that. And Nicholas Lodero has kind of been serving in that function, but his whole vibe this year has been a little bit off. And so without that, they need some guys that are willing to step up and take on that role, and I think Will is definitely somebody who can do that.
Do you think
Christian as well? He's so young that sometimes it takes guys a while to grow into that. Right. But yeah, for sure. Yeah. In long term, I mean, you could make him the captain now for 10 years.
I mean, it's happening.
And they
10 years, right?
Yeah, and I think he could be great.
Yep.
I would say week one in a Sounders kit, people were like, shit, that guy's captain. You knew it.
Yeah.
And it's weird to see that because you don't in a lot of sports. You see players who are good and they're strong on the field and whatever, but are trash attitudes or don't care and it's a job. That guy, wow.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see. And I mean, riffing on him for a second, he spent a ton of time with ECS at the end of season party this past year and has been winning an award frequently for a reason, because people see it and you're like, wow, that guy cares, gives it his all every week, is doing whatever position he's being charged with all the time. But just like shooting the breeze with him, he's like that person. Like he's what you'd think he would be, which is really neat. And what's interesting to see with him and like Ozzy, for instance, and Ladero are kind of in that like captain-esque triumvirate, on the team. They're very different people, those three. And he seems like he knows that people think it's coming, but he's not pushing for it. He's not the like brash 20-something, who's pushing for it. He's like, no, I'm going to do my job, which is run everywhere and destroy people like that guy forever.
Yeah.
And not ever ask for like a pat on the back or like anything. He just does it every week.
Yeah.
Over and over again. So anyway, I don't want to derail you too much.
No, but I mean, Christian is one of the few legitimate feel-good stories with the team
for sure.
now, right?
Right.
Because even coming out of college, I know his college coach, Jamie Clark at UW, was always very high on him. Not just as a player, though he did, he predicted his rise. And Jamie's pretty honest about assessing his own guys. So whenever Christian came out and he's like, this guy is going to be really, really good, it was worth listening to. But he also just said he's like the type of person that you root for. It's really good. He gets it on some level. And so, was rooting for him to do well early on. He's just a guy you like to see succeed. I didn't think he would get quite this good. He's a really, really good player. He is, probably, second best player on the team right now, close?
Probably.
The way
you think it's bad with no Ladero out there on the field? You think it's bad with no Ozzy on the field? No Roldan?
It would be scary.
I don't even want to think about that.
Especially considering the hits he takes, man. That guy runs through walls and he takes some hits where you're like, and he gets right back up.
Yeah.
And goes right back at him, man.
Yeah, the other thing that jumped out from this past week was Brian Schmetzer came out and was like, hey, you guys can't, I'm paraphrasing, don't be down on the players, they're not doing this, don't call them out. And that's not really where the fan base is right now, especially the outlier people like myself and frankly a lot of people sitting around us right now are kind of in the no, we know the players are giving it their all. Nobody's bagging it.
Right.
I don't think there's one player bagging it on the Sounders.
No, there's definitely not.
This whole season. Yeah. Has Nuhu had a moment where you were like, do you remember getting back on D? Okay, but I'm going to give you that. Because Ozzy Alonso got that, 8-9 years ago. You get that opportunity. Yeah. But then the next week, guy knows he made a mistake and is all in. And it's not for lack of effort or lack of trying. It's just that either the combination of the teams they're playing and those moves that those teams have made, or the 5 million injuries over and over and over and over again, or just luck of the draw from a schedule standpoint. But it was interesting to hear him go that route, and maybe he's hearing something that I'm not, or we're not, that people do really feel like the players are not all in. Do you feel like that's even the case at all?
I think it's just kind of is an insinuation, though. Whenever fans are really upset about the team about not buying new players, you are by extension sort of criticizing the players that are on the team now.
I think think about that.
I think that is sort of where he was coming from. That it had been,
which is fair.
Yeah, it had been such a point of conversation that you're not bringing in enough guys, and by doing that, you are sort of by extension, sort of dogging on the guys that he has.
Right.
And whether that criticism is fair right now, I think on some level it is. But I can see why he would be sensitive.
Totally. And I think...
Well, part of me thinks that it was also a little bit of clarifying Garth's comments and, saying, hey, wait a second. The team is nonstop carrying. This is where we're at as a team and the players. So that, if those comments spiraled, it didn't represent the entire, team, the players, and the work that he's doing with the boys.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you have and again, we don't need to parse Garth all day, and The man's a very smart attorney. He knows exactly what he is saying. How do you feel about the, not really walk back, but the augmentation of his comments about like when winning's important and this and that? Because I would say the like everything's not a must-win game kind of comments did not go over well, and they're not going to go away right now. And do you have that Portland thing? Can you pull that up for us, Adam?
Which Portland thing?
The stat about if Sounders get no points or 1 point this week, what that means.
Yeah, give me a second. I got a lot. There it is.
Like, it's pretty scary to think about the fact that, so this is Chris Reifer had tweeted today, if the Sounders get no points this week, let's hope they get at least one. But if they get no points this week, they'll have to play Shield level soccer and get a 0.8 the rest of the way to get 50, which gets them a home knockout round. I mean, not to say that's for sure. Like, you never know.
Yeah.
But that's kind of scary. Like, it's May. Mid-May.
Yeah. And the biggest concern, I think, from a Sounders perspective, is that with the 2016 team, which is sort of the most natural reference point because of how slow they started that year, it always felt like that team had more in them that they weren't reaching. And like that team always just felt like it had another gear. And for whatever reason, injuries too, sort of similar. There were a lot of things going on. But with this team, it's just, I just don't know if the quality's quite there. I just don't. In the way that it was in 2016 that could just take off in the way that they did because they had the talent.
You never know what you're going to get right now. And I think, for me, that's a struggle. Like, you look at the people in the 18, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, there was probably a point where I'd have looked at that 18 and been like, cool. And now I'm like, that's who's on the bench right now? And like, not that those players are bad or shouldn't be on a team or anything or the league. It's just like, there are teams with world-class players on the bench not starting, like, you watch the Galaxy play, and there's been games where, and part of this has been injuries or they just weren't, start fit. It's like, Galaxy are playing games with 2 Dos Santoses on the bench. Like, that's insane.
Give them their minutes. I need those guys ready. Give them their minutes, Ziggy.
And that's where you do look at things like
Cuatro Santos.
Ryan and the crew know what like Angry Dempsey looks like. And like, I wouldn't want to be on a team with Clint Dempsey coming on in the 61st minute. Hot. Like, hell, even the Sounders are up.
Right.
I don't want to see that. And Dempsey, like, now is out there. There is no Oba. There is no Morris. There's Bruin.
No Nico.
There's no Nico right now. Well, this week. But, like,
do you remember Rodriguez?
Trying to figure out what to be, what to control. And there was a match about a month or so ago, and I remember him back on D, like Oba Femi Martin's level back on D, where you're like on the TV, you're watching, and you're like, what are you doing, actually? And it was just like, I'm running the ball down. The ball was near me, and he's doing that stuff. And he's never going to get credit for that because there's all the other stuff that he is, watched for.
Yeah.
But you can see, I think, on a player of his caliber, like, you can see it, like, wearing on him out there. Because he's like, do I need to go start taking 30-yard bicycle kicks? Like, what are we doing? I mean, he had, 2 in L.A.?
Yeah.
2 bicycle kicks, or was that the other day? Yeah, so it's like, what do you do if you're a player like that, right now? And I think it's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting experiment or experience because Sounders haven't really had this in MLS era. And this is where, like, as a person who grew up watching a ton of baseball, you get to, like, June and you're like, blow it up, see what happens. And sometimes it works out, and this is why when you see stuff like they mutually agreed to part ways with Ziggy, you knew what was going to happen. No matter what or who was on that lineup, they were going to be like, we're in, let's go.
Yeah, but I pick up what Matt's saying. Like, at that year, it felt like we were maybe one player short.
One less injury.
Right now, it feels like we're 6 players short, with all the injuries. And just overall, just they're having a hard time playing well together.
And the league is changing. It is, like you alluded to. I mean, you just had these teams that are coming in, and LAFC has bought really aggressively and acted aggressively to bring in Lee Win. It's just the teams are getting better. I mean, like you said, there are a lot of players around the league getting ready for the World Cup next month.
Right.
And Alex Roldan, he tries super hard and is a hustling player, but he's playing against like Rio Grande Valley last fall. Like, it's just a different level, and it's going to take a while. And ideally, you would ease guys like him and Handwalla in, but they just don't have the horses right now.
And I think my struggle with that is, like, that's not where it's less a criticism of him and more like, hey, guys, we were talking about depth in January. It got worse. What are we doing, And good on them to, like, turn Academy and what they're trying to do with S2 and, like, some other things, like, they're not just playing for, wins. It's like, no, we're going to get a player or two every year that turns into something. And whether that's someone you trade or someone you bring up, that's okay. And if that's the focus, cool. The average fan is even going to probably get behind that. But right now, I think people are struggling with the direction and the play on the field and the comments and on that, like, LAFC is the prime example. Them getting Win to me is like excess. It's like FIFA level stupid. You're like, really?
Yeah.
On purpose? Like, he didn't just fall in your lap,
Yeah.
And that's where, like, New England didn't even think twice about it.
Yeah,
why would you want to make
money.
that team richer? That team's very good.
Yeah.
And I don't have as much of an issue with getting lapped somewhat by any LA team, any New York team. Like, we know money, sponsorship dollars, whatever you want to talk about, players just want to go there. Steven Gerrard was like, I'm going to go to LA. Dude had probably no idea where Carson was before. And, like, there's stories about it, about him going there and, like, his family's experience and this and that. But it's that on TV, LA looks amazing, so people go there, and then they're like, what? But you have enough money that you don't really care, And it can be a caricature of itself if you make $2 million a year, Atlanta, I do have a problem with, honestly.
Really?
And that's not that Blank can afford to do whatever he wants. And I have a friend from high school who is the creative director of all three organizations. So he's a photographer for the Falcons, and he does creative director work for the stadium and for Atlanta United. And he's like, they let us decide everything we want. They're like, if it was an option for, like, seat covers, they were like, what is this the best decision for the team? And not to say that other teams don't do that.
Yeah.
But it just felt like they went to every little detail, down to the, like, prices at the concessions and all that. And that is what you have when you have an owner with buku bucks.
Right.
Yeah.
That one hurts to me a little bit because they came in hot. They're like, we're going to get every South American player ever.
And coach.
And just keep going. And they could sell Almiron, and they'll be fine.
Yeah. That team is
And that's
really, really
scary.
Yeah, dude, it is scary.
And you're going to get $20 million for that guy.
Yeah.
And whether he goes in June or he goes next June or at the end of this year, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen. And they're just like, no, we're cool. And that one hurt to me, really. The Orlando thing didn't really bother me because you saw them coming for years and years and years. And they had the owner and the ties to Brazil and a lot of the other stuff. But it feels like it does right now feel like, compounded with those comments,
Garth.
you don't get to just go, well, the fans let us be bigger than we are, so we're just bigger than we are. I'm like, no, we're not. We are because you got Clint Dempsey, and you had Obafemi Martins, and that dude was literally running in. It was like a Peanuts cartoon. Like, runs into the fray
Does
of, like,
360.
smoke and then comes out with the ball on the other
that is
end.
crazy.
And everybody else is
I
going
miss
the wrong
you.
direction.
I miss you, Oba.
Up and down the field,
Te extraño,
And again,
Oba.
I harp on him because it's easy to pick on him and that Oba Deuce combo that was just fantastic to watch. And we may never see anything like that in Seattle ever again, and that's okay. But it feels like there's a little bit of nonchalance, or perceived nonchalance is a better way to say it, because I do not doubt that Adrian and Garth and the rest of the crew, Brian, whomever, Preki, whomever, are like best foot forward. They're all going out there talking to people. I mean, we could talk about
Chicharito.
We could talk about Chicharito, but talk about somebody like Gonzalo Pineda. Like, there are 20-something players from Mexico who wait, I can go play with Gonzalo Pineda as a coach?
No question.
Yup. Like, that stuff matters, and I think they've done a great job assembling people who are good personalities, like Schmetzer's like the player's coach, and everybody gets that stuff, but it doesn't. Either we've just had this perfect storm of shitty stuff, or there's something that needs to be adjusted.
Yeah, I do think that expectation level's a little bit due, just because.
Sure. Well, look what we've had.
Yeah, and just I know that Garth had some other that he just didn't come across as great.
Right.
But the overall point is accurate to some degree in that
Absolutely.
Seattle on the pecking order of big markets, and Atlanta, Atlanta is kind of outdoing them in some ways. They also, Arthur Blank has billions of dollars.
Right.
That Seattle ownership group just doesn't have that.
Right, they're getting Mo Salah way before Seattle ever is even in the conversation.
But because the club has branded itself in a way that we're taking a back seat to no one, it just has created this disconnect that, in the interim, there's going to be a little bit of tension there. And I just think that has sort of all come to a head at the same time that the team's not playing very well.
And injuries are hitting.
Yeah, and it's just
and the combination is a real thing.
Yeah.
And the Morris stuff is such a big exclamation point, because
it's such a bummer.
Whether or not they did or didn't have a kid who was going to come here in January or whatever it was, and it didn't happen, it doesn't matter. The moment Jordan goes down, you're like, ugh. And then, not for nothing, there's probably a little bit of a, we're not helping Seattle. Why would you? Team's been in MLS Cup final a couple years in a row. If you're another MLS team, you're not giving up your kids or an extra forward you got, or Lee Win, or somebody like that. And then it makes it harder.
Yeah.
Especially if people understand how Garth shops.
For sure. And I think the designated player thing, is a little bit overblown, because it is a tough market to bring in someone like that. And he is right in that it can set you back for multiple years if you don't get it right.
Right.
Especially now that you are working with a little bit of a thinner deck than maybe you once had. But them not adding any depth at all, I feel like that criticism is fair. Because it's just been obvious for a little while now. And you were talking about coming off the LA game, the Columbus game was a downer for people, but it wasn't just that. It was that it was the first game after the transfer window closed.
Yeah.
So it's obvious now that this is the team they're going to have, and they played
for 2 months.
So it was just a lot of things contributed to it, but it was a not fun afternoon for
the World Cup just get here. Hurry up.
So we got about 10 more minutes or so, and again, we appreciate you taking all the time to chat with us tonight. Are you going to Toronto, or are you?
I am not going down to Portland, though.
You are. Okay.
I will be in Portland on Sunday.
Any thoughts on Wednesday or Sunday?
It could be a long week from a Sounders perspective.
Is that your optimistic statement?
I think Wednesday could be really, really.
And we talked about that right before the show. Is your take still the same?
Motivated Toronto team.
You would smoke the Sounders, right?
Yeah, and they have, and I could see them doing that. I mean, they have had a couple high-profile battles. I'm sure there's not any love lost there. They're going to go out there and try to put it on them.
So what do you do if you're Brian coming out to this week? You got kind of a random travel schedule. You've seen Toronto at its best a couple times. Presumably, they've seen a lot of Toronto watching CCL, tape and whatnot.
I'm just glad that Chivas brought them down a notch.
Seriously, the one time that I was rooting for Chivas for anything. Anything you think Brian does coming into Wednesday specifically?
One time.
I
think he says we got to play for Portland
I think you got to play for Portland, but the risk there is if you rest too many guys, they are going to put it on there.
Yeah.
5-0.
You don't want to take a 5-6
is Bradley playing?
loss.
Do you think the mental beatdown though, like, really would hurt them that bad going into Portland?
I mean, it would only add to everything that we've been talking
It's
about.
just like symbolically, you just don't want
forget
to
the fans, forget us for a second. Like, do you think if they go in and they say, you know what, guys, we got 2 rough ones this week. We got the people that want to beat the shit out of us. They're not in our conference. We're 1-1. You know, we split the last 2 MLS Cups. We've been joking off season that we want to host this year. Like, that's our goal. Okay. They're not exactly rocking the world out in Toronto. And that's because they passed it up in order to run at CCL. Good for them. But do you think there's a little bit of a, like, not give it up?
Yeah, I mean, you can
Portland,
get the players to buy into that.
Buy into that, right? Yeah.
But then it puts a lot of pressure on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, go out and get beat 5-0 and then don't win or at least draw in Portland, the wheels could really come off. Because if they plan for that and then lose, I mean, you've talked, everybody's bought in. I don't get a sense that anyone's sandbagging on the team.
Right.
But that's when you start to lose some guys.
Right.
In that type of situation.
Portland, though, anyway?
I would think so. I mean, yeah, they're going to be ready to go, for sure.
But, like, fan-wise, like, Portland's the focus anyway.
Yeah, for sure. But still, I mean, everybody says that, but, like, if you all have to sit there and watch the last 5 or 6 nothing on Wednesday.
So Mickey had a good question.
4:30 on Wednesday. Let's not get torched.
Yeah.
Mickey had a good question. But since you're here, Mickey, do you want to ask that?
My question was, how do you think they'll handle
How do you think the team will handling free agent Dempsey and Alonso?
So can you repeat that again?
Yes, how he thinks they'll handle Dempsey and Alonso
Cool.
potentially being free agents. I was honestly a little bit surprised that Dempsey came back this year, frankly.
Really?
I just thought them not making it to the World Cup, I had figured that was like his not sole motivation, but main primary motivation. So whenever they didn't make it, I just kind of figured that might be the end of the road. But he stayed motivated. He can still make a difference. The numbers are going to have to make sense, so that's going to be interesting. Because you can't afford to pay him what he's on now. Alonso, it depends on if he gets healthy. Like, if Alonso stays healthy and can prove that he can keep that up a whole year, if he makes it into September and gets hurt again, right for the playoff stretch run, it makes that harder.
He is, though, like Ladero, night and day player. Like,
He
Alonso on the field, you're like, okay. The struggle I think I have, and this is where depth comes into play, is that's like 3 seasons now when he has like a 5-game stretch of no Alonso. You know it's out there. Like, they can't figure that out.
Yeah.
There is no replacement. That's not to say that Roldan and others don't do a great job, but they're not.
Yeah.
They don't, even if it's just getting in people's heads. Roldan is not in every player's head the way Alonso is. Because that dude should have had 78 yellows already in the games he's been back.
Yeah.
He's lucky he made it out of the LAFC match. So, you were going to ask a question, Rosie?
Is there a point where, like, the emotional attachment to an Alonso outweighs the dollar value attachment? I think Dempsey doesn't necessarily have that, but I think Alonso might have that, like...
Good question about the emotional value of Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, for better and for worse, depending on how you want to look at it. I mean, Garth is really good at managing this situation.
For sure.
He's very analytical when it comes to that. So I don't think when it comes to that he'll let maybe even more. He could. Theoretically, I think that Adrian gives him a lot of leeway. So I think that he's going to have to prove it to stay around, just because, I mean, 3 out of 4 years he's missed playoff games.
Right.
And a guy that you rely on that much, it hurts. It really does. Yeah. So I think that will probably be the deciding factor.
Any player who you think we should be targeting?
I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that, honestly. I mean, any creative winger that can help score goals.
What's a winger?
Yeah, I know. And even like somebody like a Fabian Castillo, he used to play at FC Dallas. That type of player.
That now?
He is still in Turkey, I believe. But like someone like that, a guy that can speedy on the wing, can create, make people uncomfortable, because they just don't have enough guys that can do that right now.
Should go for Chucky. Open up the bank. Bring Chucky.
We got a question from JJ, and he says, is the fastest, and he says in parens, not official, review via VAR for a red that wasn't even called a foul by the ref, the fourth, the AR, or some other group? What do you? And he's talking specifically about.
Was
Alex.
it the fastest?
Yeah, like
I mean, I would
is
think
the
it's only
fastest
been,
via VAR.
I would think
for
so.
something.
I mean, it's only been around for what, like about a year?
Year and a half,
seemed
whatever it
pretty
is
quick.
at this point.
It was so obvious, though. I mean, as soon as you saw the replay, it's like, yeah, no, that would be it.
Do you think the front office, this is Kimmy, asks, do you feel the FO can find additional revenue streams? And if I could guess what Kimmy's alluding to, it's like money to pay for expensive players. Do you think there's something different the team might need to do at this point?
I think they're doing everything about as well as they can. Honestly, I think that they are tapping into every single outlet. I mean, I think that they're pretty good about the business side of the organization. I think the messaging is sort of the issue to some degree, because they have really been hammering home we haven't taken a step back. We're exactly the same as we were whenever we were with the Seahawks. Don't talk about that. Like, we are still number one in MLS, so that has kind of skewed expectations. But in terms of what they're actually doing, I don't think that they should switch up a whole lot when it comes
keep doing
to
it. I mean, they're consistently up there from a jerseys perspective and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
In general, tickets, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do feel there's a wide gap between the word decent that was used in the last week or so and conversations that many of us have had face-to-face, but that Adrian has had publicly, talking about being a global club and like wanting to be up there with global organizations. No global organization would ever refer to a week, let alone the first quarter of a season, as decent, ever.
Yeah.
And I think that's again, we're all real involved here in Seattle. And you need to look no further than, like, Senator Hart comments is the easiest way to do it. Well, no, but, like, really, like, go to Senator at Hart and then go to literally every other MLS team site on that network and pick one post. And the one post on Saturday at Hart will have more comments than all of the other, like, front pages on a match weekend, And that's great. Like,
it's good.
Great
it's
to
really
have that
good.
level of involvement. But that's where, like, unfortunately, stuff like that may have been a throwaway line gets mega parsed.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, you only think we need to be decent? I pay good money for decent, especially in a year where people's tickets have gone up and so on and so forth. So I think we're all, like, struggling with the combination. Like, we talked about that perfect storm.
Yeah.
It's probably off the field, too. It's not just injuries. We didn't get a couple players we might like. We want to wait till after the World Cup. They haven't figured out a training ground. Everyone's injured. Jordan Morris, whatever.
Yeah.
Plus, people are pissed off about their ticket prices and whatever else you want to pile onto that.
Yeah.
So-
Lack of rosé.
Yeah, and I do think that, I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to take a step back and be cool and rational. I get that. I mean, that's not what fandom is.
What's that?
Like, I get how all of that works.
Rational.
Like, I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates
there you go.
diehard,
Yeah.
and I get the, like, angst that comes from all of that. But I do think that this team has earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to all this. I mean,
I would hope so at this point. Like, as critical as I feel like I am, there's still something to, like, I'm going to go every week. I believe they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't agree with all of it.
Yeah.
I'm not there in their job.
Yeah.
I'm not Brian. I'm not Garth. I'm not Adrian.
meetings,
Good
looking-
for you guys. And for all we know, it's MLS Cup final again, and we're all like, LOL.
Remember where?
Remember May? It sucked. I had too many iced tea and rums, whatever it is. Anyway, we want to let you go because it's about 8:30. We had one last question. What do you think about Alex over Magnus?
I think it's really interesting, honestly, because I just think that it taps into a lot of all of this when it comes. I mean, Magnus was the reinforcement.
Yeah.
He was, and he was the guy that Garth identified, or Chris, or someone.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be an attacking reinforcement, and for whatever reason, Brian just doesn't seem to see that in him. Like, and he's just like, if there was not a situation on Saturday for him to come in and change the game in the second half until super late, that was when you needed.
Do you have an opinion? Like, really?
I haven't seen enough of him, honestly. I will say that Brian has a very high commitment to guys that can defend and will commit and will run for 90 minutes. I think that the way that they've been playing, you might need to loosen that a little bit, because you just need some kind of creativity. That they don't have. And again, like Alex seems like he has a lot of potential as a rotation guy, but you need someone that can help create goals.
He just feels like he's like quiet creative though, whereas like you can kind of see stuff coming with the
as a poacher, kind of like a Chicharito, like right place, right time. But not like a creator where I'm going to separate and...
Well, I don't see him carrying the ball up and, like, head up like Ladero. Like, his body's going this way and his head's going this way and, like, he eats you up. He's not that guy.
Exactly.
But I don't know, like, the few times you see something really solid, or even, like, the strikes he makes on the free kicks he's had, you're like, oh, okay. Like, it's there. Like, I get why you're
he has that
on
instinct
this
to try to
team,
finish.
you know? But maybe that's the same thing as like we talked about Dempsey and others. Like he can't be the responsible one. He's like, you know, the dirty player that just shows up. It's like Bruin. Like, if Will Bruin turned into Chris Wondolowski, people would be like, I hate Wondolowski, and be like, you sign that guy in 2 seconds because he can score 27 goals off like mistakes by keepers. You know, like. You'd be stupid to not want that. And like I think maybe he's a good example of like we don't know what he is. Whereas maybe other guys we do have a sense of what kind of player they are.
For sure.
And he's like, is he just tall? Like what does he do? You know?
Yeah. I will say that if you were to draw a sketch of the type of player they need right now, the player they described Magnus as when he arrived is that guy. So something is going on, whether in practice or personalities of the Brian.
Which is okay. Like, you know, that's up to Brian and his crew to figure that out.
But one last hot question from Nico Moreno.
My boy.
He's like, ask my boy Matt. Ask him why he'll be rooting on Colombia in the World Cup.
Hey, again, no US. That's another fun one. It's another fun team. That would have been my second one besides Morocco. I do actually really like this Colombia team.
Who do you think's going to win it?
Probably Germany. It's always Germany. End of the day, it's always them.
They don't have Mo.
I'd love to see them make a run. My personal thing that I hope happens the most is that Egypt knocks Russia out in the group stage, because I feel like that would be pretty amazing.
Can you even imagine the rioting? No, but seriously, like actual international incident.
Yeah. I mean, because their group is what? Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Russia. It's probably going to come down to Egypt and Russia.
Right.
Martin says thank you for answering his question about Alex and Magnus. We know you got to go. You have other commitments. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks again, guys.
Yet again.
Appreciate it. Yes.
Please come back.
No, I will, for sure.
Yeah, man.
This is fun.
Yeah, maybe
so,
it'll be at a
hey, Matt, The Athletic. It's The Athletics SEA on the
that's
Twitter?
the Twitter.
The
account.
Twitter?
Yeah, just theathletic.com. Again, subscription, you get access to all of it. Nationwide, whatever you want to read about.
Pay Matt.
Yes. All right.
Cool.
Thanks again,
sir.
guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Safe travels to Portland.
Thank you.
Don't die.
Try not to.
They're going to probably move the game because it's going to be like 80.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
85, I think.
85. Woo!
Yeah, in Portland, that's a lot.
They're going to change the game plan.
All right. Thanks
Anyway.
again, guys.
Yeah, man.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Be good. Drive safe.
Nice to meet you in person, not just Twitter.
All right. So,
Come on down, Mark. The price is right.
Mark's here.
that's
Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm illiterate.
Big day.
That was really fun.
But now we have one.
I love Matt.
Yeah.
But now we have Mark.
When no, but like
it just
What's your twiddle handle? Twiddle.
Excuse me?
what have you been drinking?
No, I haven't
rum
been
and iced
drinking
teas?
at all. I mean, had
it was fun, but it's still like, oh man, he's only reinforcing what we already know. It's going to be a rough next couple of months.
There's nothing we're gonna do about it.
Yeah.
So at this, it's not that I'm relegated to it, but it is what it is.
I do think it's funny for years that we have talked about there is going to be a year where it's not going to be all sunshine and roses.
That's okay.
And it's fine. Yeah,
Welcome
no, there's
to
nothing
sports.
wrong with that.
Like, except for Liga MX,
Right.
Club America, or Chivas.
Fuck it. The rules don't matter.
We create our own rules.
No, I kid. But genuinely,
Hey,
except for
I know we create our own
except for a
rules.
couple of global leagues in any American sport,
Yeah.
you get to be trash every so often.
Yeah.
And it's
Listen.
okay. And the teams that like know what they're doing and can survive, the Dallas Cowboys of the world, like
Right.
there's going to be 80,000 people in
You
that
always
stadium.
are going to have that set base.
No,
will be there.
we're
But
sounding,
the people in New Orleans
sounding
who
like
were
we're
wearing
already
paper
getting
bags
ready
when they were
for
the
it
Aints,
mentally.
Right.
they were doing that
I'm not ready.
because they love the Saints.
You guys are
not
ready.
to like
Yeah.
I'm not
just
ready.
get on TV, although that ended up being
And then
part
Steve
of it.
Gleason blocked the punt.
Yeah, true.
Wow. Anyway, that's gonna happen in any team in any
Yeah.
like long-term cycle. We're not. I genuinely think this league is small enough that Sounders will always compete at some level. I do think they're gonna have to
Don't
grow out of the
install
fact.
a new OS right now.
They're gonna have
Do
to
not
grow
do it.
out of the fact that the first half
Don't do it on your
Isn't-
phone, dude. Don't
is
do it on your phone.
perceived as not important by some people. I do think that's an issue, like a
Yeah.
business problem.
Yeah.
That's not a Garth or an Adrian or whatever, like
No.
them
I'm scared.
not giving a shit. No one's stealing our money. We do not have that ownership. We do not have that management. Brian Schmetzer would not stand for that shit.
Right.
No.
Like, he'd walk away.
He'd say, fuck it, I'm out.
for real, like on TV.
Yeah.
Like he's not that guy. But that like we're at year 3, it's a thing.
Right.
And at some level it will affect attendance.
Well, and we talked a little bit last week about over the course of the past 2 and some change years, Toronto and Seattle, no team has played more games.
It's gonna happen. And whatever Mark wants.
I'm going to get one more of these bad boys. It's water.
Dude, Chivas might trade one of the
Adam is
star
on that
players.
wine. Anyway,
but-
so Toronto
No.
and Seattle.
Yeah, and you look
Ton of
at
games.
You look at
They
just
were.
like what we're running into right now, and when you look at that on a whole of these guys having played so many games over the time period and not having a break and not recovering and whatnot, it kind of makes sense.
Yep.
Now that's where I do get sort of mad about.
Well, that's where
We
the
gotta
depth
know-
conversation comes into play.
Yeah,
though.
we got to know that in sport science.
Well, and I will say here, when you look at Toronto and their like MLS standings so far this season or MLS results so far this season, they're in the same boat.
Yeah.
They are. But that doesn't mean their players are better or worse. It just means they figured out a way to apply their best 11s
Right.
to CCL.
Right.
Good for them because it's the same shit the Sounders would have
No,
done.
and we definitely had
But-
more of the injury bug
but
for CCL
their kids, their younger players
playing at a higher level.
look better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than when Sounders don't have an ideal. Forget ideal 11, ideal 7.
Yeah.
Like when Sounders are not at that level, they don't. I don't feel like they're gonna absolutely compete. And while teams lose or draw 11-10 all the time, like go look in any, like pick a league, open the all-time results, and find shorthanded player games. It happens
Yeah, it
all
happens,
the
yeah.
time.
And
it's
I
like
think-
shorthanded goals in hockey. It happens all the time.
Matt made a good point about 2016, the slow start. But that team just looked like it wasn't
Well,
performing.
that was Matt's point that he made tonight.
That's what I just
yeah,
said.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about.
Yeah. Like, they clearly were not performing to what they were capable of. This, I just don't even think we have the ability.
Well, and I think this is where Valdez was one of the names that came up earlier.
Yeah.
Valdez was not brought here to score 20 goals.
No.
Do you want a guy you're paying $1.2 million or
Please.
whatever to score goals? Yeah.
In this league, yes.
But that wasn't the point.
Yeah.
And people Like, most soccer fans don't understand that.
I mean, he needed to score some goals, though.
No,
He did in the
no,
playoffs.
absolutely. But he scored when it mattered. But
Hey,
he's
man.
the guy that
He had good hair.
He had great hair. I had a good conversation with him in Toronto. What
About
a wonderful
hair product?
person. That guy was so jacked. Anyway, but like he's the guy you brought in, same as like Herc, like players like that. Like you bring him in for genuinely like this is a big football thing or baseball intangibles. Like guy who's gonna like not take any shit, knows how to score. Valdez was an amazing hold-up player.
I would say
like if
locker
you
room,
understand that logic, and like what's that?
Locker room, too.
But like that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
And the problem with American sports is, except for maybe baseball, maybe a little bit of NFL, like American football, except for maybe baseball, you don't sign players for that stuff. It's just not a thing. You don't sign the 42-year-old catcher for $1 million. Well, you do in baseball, but like you do that because that player's got mega experience and knows how to talk to people. You bring in a Valdez because that guy's seen some shit and like knows what he's doing. And then 2-3 times he need to back it up on the field, he did it and was amazing. But the average soccer fan or the average Sounders fan specifically, it's not that they're not educated or don't understand. That's just not what they're used to. They're used to you spend $1 million, you get 18 goals, you get Freddie Montero, or whatever the heck it is. And that's, I think, hard for American sports fans, I think,
Freddie?
to grasp.
No.
Didn't he go back to Porto?
Is he Porto?
Yeah.
So JJ brings up Valdez scored the goals we needed, not the goals we wanted. And that's dead on.
Yeah. That's very good, JJ.
And, like, I don't have any issue with that guy having been on this team at all.
We won a championship.
Not even like hindsight, just in like when you heard how they justified the signing and why they brought him in, he did exactly what they said he was there for. If you bring in a guy you expect to score 12 goals, you're going to say he's a high-powered scorer in League X. We think that will translate well to Sounders.
We need that
That's
guy, though,
not
now.
well now. And I think now we're in this position of let's pull everything else aside for a second. Morris goes down, nothing happened. And whether Morris would score 2, 3, 4 goals or 16 doesn't matter. There is no Jordan Morris right now.
No.
There's a Jordan-shaped hole.
Yeah.
Sort of looks like Bernie's Mountain Dog.
I think the struggle is you look at a guy like Will Bruin,
What?
who is busting his ass and is not really calling out his teammates, but is like calling out the lack of success and consistency and like a couple of other things that he brought up.
we are consistent in crossing the nobody.
No. We crossed to Colombia very successfully.
That's called a giveaway.
So, do we want to read the tweets?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're good.
They're good.
Is it this one? I hit this
They're
button.
all
I
marks.
can actually see this.
SonarFeed reads tweets.
I tried to be good about not tweeting this weekend
All right.
at all.
So let's
Oh, that was.
let's start with Dave Clark.
Yes.
There was this
What
one
the
time
actual fuck?
that Dave Clark, in his 10th season, with the same seats, an usher asked him to sit, quote, because the people behind us asked. The people directly behind us have also been here every season and have never requested. So this was resolved, thankfully, for Dave. When I was reading this while traveling, I'm literally watching the ESPN Plus, sitting in a beach bar in Kailua, Kona. And I'm like,
fucking
I'm going to
hate you. Have
scroll.
I mentioned that?
Hold on a sec. What? Dave got asked to sit down? And that's when you're like, You may have chosen the wrong person in the stadium to ask to sit down.
All the people in the stadium, the one with the golden scarf
And
in the stands.
yeah, that's not awesome. And I think
There you go.
my concern
son.
with thank you. My concern with that sort of thing is it really as outlier a thing as we think it is? And like if people where Dave's seats are like, meh, we're gonna sit.
I used to get talked to all the time in my old seats about yelling "fuck you" to the ref because one guy didn't like it.
Did you move on to Spanish?
No.
Boom.
If he were to say "fuck you" to the ref, which fuck should he use?
Chinga tu puta madre, hijo de tu chingada. Something like that.
Which would sound
I
great.
think
one's
you
pretty
took
good.
that a little further.
I mean,
Train him on that.
Let's keep going.
Tom's like, let's not.
I had another
So
conversation.
this
I'm
is
gonna
actually
forget
a headline that Tom wrote.
I didn't write this, but Heather thinks I did. So if you didn't see, the Lansing United team made headlines this week after having a company named Sparrow sponsor the men's jerseys and Milk sponsor the women's jerseys. So Nutmeg News nailed it by announcing that industrial manufacturing company Siemens would be sponsoring the shorts because the combination of Siemens for the men's shorts and Milk for the women's shirts was perfect. And that just shows how fucking dumb that sponsorship decision was.
Yep.
Clever, the Nutmeg News writers.
Good
They
job,
are.
Tom.
good job, man.
Good job, Tom.
I didn't do anything.
We got two more. We got two more today. So
Thank you, Nutmeg News, for letting Tom write for you. We appreciate
This was
it.
a good one.
Yes.
So C-Sock or C-Soak.
It's Josh.
2040 Sounders Twitter. It's the Squiddies from the Matrix. And they're saying, oh, look, another cross to nobody. Like, I kind of want to take this and print it at like 60 inches wide and just post it on the wall.
Can we,
Cry.
Sean, if you're watching, Tifo idea.
Can you just put cross? How about
Tifo's
the
supposed
banner?
to be constructive,
The
Mark.
rail? Well, if you do a rail and say cross there,
It is
with an arrow.
constructive. It is constructive. It says stop
It
crossing
is
to
not
nobody.
constructive at all. So what's the last one we've got?
I
Last
had
one.
more successful crosses in Pub League.
The
Oh,
oldest
this was a good
reference
one.
I can find of Portland playing Seattle in soccer from any public archive from the November 29th, 1907 Morning Oregonian. You know what? I should have grabbed a closer.
And the headline is Portland loses at soccer.
Also, would be a great Tifo.
Game one
It's
by
amazing.
Seattle after
Portland
hard
loses at
struggle.
soccer.
And they're like, hashtag RCTID. Shut the fuck up. No. Anyway, did you go on Reddit this week?
I have the app on my phone. I tend to have more to do in my
Because
life.
I did.
I only go to Reddit when you send me links.
I do.
What
I
happened-
send you all the r/Mexico inside jokes in Mexico, and I send them to Ugo because I'm like,
Awesome.
I think this is funny, and I'm like pretty conversational, and then Ugo's like, and he laughs for like 20 minutes on text, and I'm like, yes, I did identify a real good joke in Spanish.
Oh my god, dude! You guys have to listen to
Have
that
you been
song.
Have you been downvoted off the internet yet?
So, about 75% of my comments on a recent Reddit thread are below the comment
This one.
threshold that you have to click to see them. Oh, here they are. So,
No, that's just
can you go back to it? All I did was go to Reddit, the Sounders FC subreddit, and I pointed out that there was far more interest, voting, and comments on shame on ECS for the "Can you hear Austin sing" chant
Which,
than
by the
there
way-
was for the 3 posts about the actual play of the Sounders. The comments are more.
The best part about this is Tom was not even at the game.
And I still was told that I was toxic. That I was playing the victim.
Which you do often.
All the time. Duh. It's my MO. And that I was a dick.
Well, I mean, that last one's true.
And they were like, so what you're saying is, if that's the song you were singing, then all of your songs are not meant to be taken literally, and that you guys are actually just dicks? And then I asked if someone was going to write a treatise on not actually burning Portland down. And they were like, that's not actually the point we're making. You're changing the story. And I'm like, no, I'm agreeing with you. We are actually just dicks and don't mean 90% of the things in the songs. Some of them we actually do mean, but like we're probably not going to burn Portland down yet.
We're not. I'm backing out of the trip this weekend.
Well, I mean, there's this gray area about arson being illegal.
It's weird. You're not supposed to burn down other people's property.
Or cities, for that matter.
Let's go to our legal correspondent.
Our legal counsel.
Arson, illegal.
Noted.
But anyway, so all I tried to do was say, hey guys, maybe converse about the fact that the team's playing poorly. And they were like, you're a victim, and ECS is hooligans, and you're what's wrong with everything. And then someone said, what if all the true believers got together and voted about whether we thought ECS should even exist?
Oh, my God.
Oh.
And that was the moment that I literally closed my browser window
And walked away.
I literally, like, physically walked away, and then went to Twitter while seriously intoxicated and posted, "Y'all have done it. I'm not answering any more questions on behalf of ECS ever again." Like, transparency gets me nowhere.
By the way, this I learned.
TIL. Where's my drink, by the way?
34-year-old from
You finished it.
Bellevue.
I ordered another one.
A 34-year-old from Bellevue am a hooligan.
You look like a hooligan.
It's only because I'm growing the neck beard.
You really are, though.
All right, so
That's all the internet. Well, there's this one that was from that thread. Did you want to show that?
I am
one?
offended. I'm offended
know.
at being
I don't
called
know.
the one at the bottom, the
hooligan.
Warvanov.
Yeah, it sucks that Sounders
Let's post
fans
it.
turn on each other.
This is a great
I can't really
post.
see it very well. Here, let me.
It sucks that Sounders fans
In
turn on
big
each other anytime that the team is playing poorly.
Can I just point of clarification?
That's what we fucking do. Oh no, we're clarifying that. If the Sounders had been winning, posts like this would not gain the same traction. People are angry and frustrated and are directing those emotions towards something trivial. It was a joke.
Wait, we're
I
ordering
would
beer.
love another drink.
I think
pausing-
we gave her the thumbs up.
pausing to order
Thumbs up
beer.
here.
She did. Because
This is the beer.
Smart.
This is the beer ordering
Yeah,
segment
I'm
of
not
the
smart,
show.
So, yes.
Yes.
Okay, and we're coming
Can we come
back.
back to that?
We're back to it.
It was a joke. Can you hear Austin sing? So just for clarity, it was the "Can you hear Austin sing?" And let's just say people were very displeased by that activity. Anyway, and this commenter said, it's not pro-Columbus or anti-Columbus. It's poking fun at the situation Columbus finds itself in. Given the history between Columbus supporters and ECS, which, by the way, if you bring that up, you also get downvoted, even though there are publicly available death threats to members of ECS leadership for which the police were called. Yeah. Anyway, it's nothing more than a continuation of the level of banter that's gone both ways. You know, from the Aces people. MLS isn't going to be any more likely to move the team to Austin because of a chant led by ECS. Can You Hear Austin Sing is not a statement in support of moving the team. And as the person that edited the official ECS statement that Heather wrote most of, I wholeheartedly agree. Can Columbus go fuck itself? Absolutely. Do I want them to lose their team for bullshit owner reasons? Absolutely not. Personally, I think it's awful. Do I want to make fun of them all the time? Yes.
Yes.
You wear fucking yellow jerseys that look like Minions last year.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. There's one more line.
The point is, someone gets their feelings hurt. That was the money comment. Like, it doesn't matter. And my frustration was not, let's play victim, or it wasn't even defend DCS, which I'm clearly passionate about. It was, y'all are focused on dumb shit that happened for, what, a minute? 2 minutes? Total of 2+ hours in a stadium, including pre and post. And that's what people are focused on.
People are tripping.
And, like, my frustration is, like, we've missed, that's lost the plot.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And it's really, really frustrating to me.
Of course, how could it not?
If ECS does something fucked up, I genuinely want to hear about it. I'm not saying it'll change. I'm not saying I'll fix it, whatever it is, or I agree with you. But I'd like to know. In this case, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
He'll also
It's a
goddamn
stupid
write
ass
about
song.
it on Nutmeg News.
Well, and also but like JJ points out, like what did Austin think? I mean, he was probably singing his heart
Some
out.
guy named Austin
Fucking
had a great
poor
and
Austin.
then depressing time.
Did you see Max?
being picked on. Dude,
The Max Aquino
awesome.
Facebook post was so good because you start reading it and you're like, I can't believe that ECS went out of its way
to single out
to single out
one of their members.
Some guy named Austin.
who's named Austin, who's a ASG member and an Air Force corpsman, right? Austin Robbins. And they're like, I can't believe ECS would do this to one of its own. And the best is, like, you read it and you're like, fuck you, Max. Oh. Good job, Max Aquino. And, like, again, this is not about, like, destroying other fan bases. This is mid-game banter. Because let's just be clear.
It was fucking hilarious.
They would, like, punch us all in the face. This is like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
No one cares. But unfortunately, our fan base, and this is why I think it was good to have the conversation with Matt tonight, was they're so flustered, so frustrated, so disappointed by the performance as compared to the last 2, 3, 4, 9 years by the team, that now it's eat your own. And that's what happens, honestly, when you're successful, is people just eat what's in front of them.
By the way, though, we would have gotten that backlash whether we had won 4-0 or...
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
It would have been... There
Can
was
you
someone,
believe ECS did
there
that?
was someone who literally said this was like telling people that they had cancer.
Can you believe ECS?
I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have a lot of friends who've had cancer, and saying that your team is quiet isn't the same as saying you have cancer at all.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just frustrating to me. This isn't my soapbox. It's just dumb that this much effort was wasted. And for me, I don't comment on Reddit or wherever for my own edification or volition, whatever the fuck you want to say. I'm like, no, I genuinely have an opinion, and I'm telling you why this happened. And people are like, no, you're playing the victim.
Did we not cover that you're not allowed to share your opinion?
Ever. Yeah. But my frustration is I'm not there to convert people.
No, you're not allowed to share your opinion.
But I'm not trying to convert people to ECS. I'm not trying to, like, justify. It doesn't seem, like, unrealistic to try and have a grown-up conversation with people who are pretending to be grown-ups. Except I'm the one using my real name, and all of them are whatever.
Right, so
Anyway, so
Have you seen the shit that comes out of my Twitter?
we're
Goddamn right, I'm not using.
so
my
we're
real
running
name.
hot.
So before we go, though,
I want to do a couple
had,
things.
JJ had something that he wanted me to show. Just give me a second.
It better not be me in public. That arm was. Really
I
No.
also do have another.
Oops, here
what
it
the
is.
Fuck's word am I trying to use?
This-
Update, news, announcement.
Not that.
Oh my
there
god,
we
it's
go.
so good.
There we go.
Do
This
you remember this?
Yes, that was so good.
So this was, I think, the club, actually. I don't know if it was the supporters. Was, if you know who this is, it's the general that literally burned the city of Atlanta to the ground. And they were like, let's put these posters up all over town. But heaven forbid, we suggest that
We can't hear Austin.
Austin isn't loud enough in a
Are you
stadium.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay. JJ points
Hashtag
out it was
snowflake.
Massive City. So it's Sherman like the tank.
Yeah.
But are you personally an asshole?
I mean, duh.
Right.
Yeah, we knew that. Also,
Duh.
Duh.
So let's do
But Adam,
two quick things.
Three, because I've got one.
I
Let's
think
do
we're not.
two quick things because we're running about. We're going to go about 5 more minutes.
First off,
Can I just
Okay,
ask?
it's
did
just
you guys
karaoke that's
celebrate
getting
Chivas
mad.
winning
I know.
CONCACAF?
No one has signed up for karaoke.
Pub League started this weekend.
How'd you do?
It was good. We lost 1-0 on the first one. Ian let in a dumb goal, and it is what it is. The second game we drew. It's good competition. It was hot as fuck. The only thing is we did not have jerseys because one Tom Bureau's team did not submit their shit in time. So I'm
What?
putting you on blast, mofo.
Who's in charge of that?
Max Aquino.
Max Aquino, the guy in charge of that, didn't submit the team.
It was my team. Do you know why? Because my team couldn't agree on shit.
Because he's in
That's
shot.
accepting blame. I'll take that as an apology.
No, it's
for
accurate.
Me having to wear last season's jersey, which was hot as fuck.
You're going to be okay.
No, I'm not. I almost died of
So we're going to do two
Eating
things
sausage.
before we get out of here tonight.
exhaustion
The first one is
or being hungover.
tell us what's up.
Chivas are CONCACAF
No,
champions.
not that.
No.
What's up with you?
Let's see. Girlfriend moved into my place.
Whoa! Whoa!
I know. I am in the middle of a remodel, and my painter just called me saying he needs to see me. That's not a good sign. I now.
I'm sorry. I told him to paint your room pink.
I now have a puppy. I now have a dog. It came with a girlfriend, so
Do you like that he's
about 5
skipping
minutes.
all the political shit?
I'm
Yeah.
saving the best for last.
Yeah.
I Wednesday had my first. I already had my first commissioner meeting.
So you were a planning commissioner for Burien.
yes, yes,
Awesome.
Yes. I am now a commissioner. Y'all can call me commissioner.
I want
Hugo from
Knuckles.
now on.
You have like a name
excuse me,
thing, right?
Commissioner Garcia.
I like that. So I actually have a meeting in 2 days. I have to do a bunch of reading for tonight and tomorrow. Going over accessory dwelling units. Very sexy term. Accessory dwelling units.
Mother-in-laws.
Yes, mother-in-laws.
Mother-in-laws.
Yes, it's a way to address housing.
For a moment there, I thought I heard accessory drilling.
Let it go.
Units.
Dwelling.
I also
ADUs.
ADUs.
I looked into them quite heavily for my own house.
Right. No. It's a big topic. It's a big topic. I am much more knowledgeable on comprehensive plans for municipalities. I'll tell you that much, and how they're all tied to regional strategic plans, alliances between counties. Bunch of fun. I also selected. I was part of 2 committees that. One selected the 3 finalists for local principal to the biggest public high school in Buren. Very proud to say that we were able to get 2 of the 3 finalists to be persons of color, educators of colors. And though the finalist who ended up getting the job was not a person of color, It was a co-principalship, and the other co-principal is, and they're all very qualified educators.
What other exciting news coming out of Berrien?
Highline College.
I don't know that one.
I was also on the hiring subcommittee for the Highline College president. So
that's awesome.
It was pretty cool. We just finished submitting the 3 finalists. Cannot give names or info, but they're all amazing. And they're going to be doing forums at the college, and eventually the board of trustees will pick one of these 3 folks. One of the 3 is going to be the next president of Highline College. All the people I wanted to make the final cut made it, so I'm excited for that. Yeah,
nice.
And it's very interesting to see So, people have mentioned you should run for office. You should run for office. But I'll tell you, being on committees, even especially hiring committees and commissions, you really do have a lot more impact, I feel.
I could see that.
Because, being able to, say, hey, one of these next 3 finalists is going to be the president at this college and the principal at the school. That has, direct impact on kids. A lot of them. We just saw why, current principal got swapped out because they couldn't handle the current, dynamics.
Super polite.
Right.
So that is happening.
So the other one that I was speaking to is a Kennedy grad that may now be running for being a representative.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned him. Joe or Joel?
Joe
Wynn. Yeah. For state rep, right? For the 34th?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. You, Esco, and somebody else on Twitter spoke very highly of him. All the feedback I'm hearing from friends.
I was in Vancouver, Canada, must have been 4 or 5 years ago, just randomly up there for a Sounders game, on the sidewalk, walking goes, Mark? Joe! What the heck? And so we just chit-chatted soccer on the streets of Vancouver.
We're getting Booker Garcia 2024.
There we go.
There we go.
What? Hold on, who's Booker?
Cory Booker.
Oh, shit. Come on.
Yeah. But no, I thought that was cool. Seeing
shaved head gentlemen who know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You had posted about it, and I actually got an email today about his campaign.
Yeah. No, I think it is cool.
I'm like, that's right. I am dialed into the regional.
So is this
stems.
The lame excuse you're giving us why you haven't been here?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
I've been on hiring committees.
Bullshit.
And meetings.
We don't care anymore.
It's not been any of that. It's because the girlfriend moved in. We get it.
Right.
I mean, that also impacted.
I don't want to cut you off because I want you to be back the next bunch
I
of
am
shows.
back this
So you're
coming
back.
Monday. I will say it
Is
right
there
now.
something going on next
I'm back
Monday?
on the
What's next
14th.
Monday?
It's the biggest fiesta of the year. Pachanga. It's on.
It is
I'm here.
one David James Clark's 54th birthday.
Dave has already declared clip show. Adam is like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now.
He's going to bring them all, and I'll just hit play.
Anyway, so
I don't know. Hopefully we
be
can be
here
back
next
out there.
week for real, in person. It's going to be super fun.
We have a possibility of being back out on the patio.
We hope so.
The Berliner has been going through some kitchen renovations, which can only mean great things for being down here. But we hopefully will be out on the patio because this lovely weather.
So come out.
Make a prediction.
Dave's birthday.
Make a prediction. You got 2 matches.
Dave will have all the drinks.
You know how good I am at predictions.
Wednesday and Sunday.
There will be...
Actually, your predictions this time might...
Just call number of points. How many points? How many points the Sounders come out? When we meet next week, how many points will the Sounders have added?
Added? I'm going to say 2.
Okay. Ugo.
I'm going to say, fuck it, 6. Let's go. We're going to shock the world. We're going to shock the world.
Is -3 an option?
It is now.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to say 3.
So loss and a win.
Yep.
We lose Toronto
the
and beat
entire
Portland.
team will actually get red carded.
How?
Which costs us
points.
Cut his mic. Cut his mic, man. Cut his mic.
Thank you all for joining us here tonight.
Thanks,
everybody,
y'all.
for being here in the
See
bar.
you next week.
We'll
See you next week.
Dave Clark's birthday. Be here.
Yes.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks,
All right.
Berliner.
Sounds like a jolly little picnic group.